Welcome to Girlfriends Bible Study, a live Bible study with Connie and friends. Each week, Connie and her girlfriends engage in a lively conversation as they read and study scripture. So, grab a pen, your journal, and your best friend and enjoy this enlightening Bible study.
All right, I see I already got my glasses on. Woo, child, it's been raining. My eyes are fuzzy. My speech is fuzzy. We're going to get through this, though. So I'm just trying to see. Anyway, welcome everybody to Bible Study Live with Connie and Friends. And today it's Connie and Sister. So I am so thankful my sister is here. It's always so good to see her and be joined by her and have her support. Aw, she will me kisses. I love her. Anyway, so tonight we're talking about breaking repeating patterns. And there's a really interesting article that I saw. It's a study, it's a module out of, I think, a book or a study, and it talks about how to change behavior patterns. It doesn't really tell you how to, it just helps you recognize the stage you're in when you're changing them. So I'm just really focusing tonight on recognizing them and recognizing some easy steps because I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist or social worker. I'm only speaking from personal experience, and not only that's a big deal. So this is my personal experience, and it's a big deal because I've learned from my mistakes and my successes. I've learned from my sister when I have a repeating behavior or I'm reacting to a repeating behavior and don't realize it. And, I shared recently with a group that I speak to on Wednesdays, my prayer warrior group, that if any of you have seen the series on Netflix, Lucifer, in Lucifer, hell is the people who are down in hell are stuck in a situation that they've gone through in life. And they just relive it over and over and over and over again. Like that's what hell is. Well, we do that in real life all the time. We relive, when people say, "Oh, I always attract this kind of person," or "I don't know why I can't, get ahead. I'm always work financially. I can't get ahead. My account is always below." Or "I don't know why my bosses. I keep having these horrible bosses." Or "I keep attracting these horrible women or horrible men or horrible friends." And you were stuck in a loop. We're stuck in a loop, and it's so interesting um, to think about that because we don't realize that we're the common denominator. And when we find that we're seeing the same thing over and over again, I'm dealing with that same situation over and over again, we have to recognize that we're stuck in a loop. Sometimes it's there was a good friend of mine, and I talked about this recently, the guy that she and I both had our guys that we just kept, reinitiating with, and we'd get right back in that same loop and it wouldn't work out. We're like, I don't know what happened. I thought it was different this time, and blah, blah, blah. And it's never different. Now, here's the thing. There are some really serious situations that we can get into a loop and not realize that our minds, our own mindset are needed. We need to change that to get out of it. Even as part of the Don't Be a Bully project, I talk about how children who are being victimized, they're being bullied, and they're dealing with that. And so the parent, for instance, takes them out of that school, puts them in another school, and then they start getting bullied again. But not by the same bullies. The bullies didn't follow them there, but they start getting bullied again. So the parent takes them out of that school, puts them in another school, and they start getting bullied there. At some point there's something in them that needs to change. Now that does not in any way absolve the bullies. They are still responsible for their behavior. But recognizing that if you're going from school to school, and it happened to me, I can speak from experience. I went to one inner city elementary school to another school that was not inner city elementary school. I got bullied in both. And for my first year in junior high, whatever, supposed to be high school, but they called it junior high in California at the time, ninth grade, bullied there too. And that's two different states, three different schools, none of the same bullies. I had to change something in me. I had to change something in me to say, something has to change because this keeps happening. Now I got to deal with me. Those bullies from Noble didn't follow me to VTOL. Those VTOL bullies didn't follow me to Culver City Junior High School. They did not. And yet, the same behavior, the same pattern of behavior, I was still experiencing. Similarly, I was molested by more than one person. I remember when my baby first said that, and I mean, I knew it obviously, but when I was talking, Zora was like, wait a minute, more than one person molested you? How could that happen? It was like such a splash of cold water of realizing the molestation also happened when I was being bullied. There was a mindset, a victim somehow drawing to me mindset. And it's horrible. So often when we talk about breaking repeating patterns, we're thinking of action that we're taking that we need to stop. Why do I keep, you know, what do you call it? The word just went out of my head, but overeating, but that's not the word I was looking for. Binge eating. Why do I keep binge eating? So we think of it as I took this action and I need to stop that action that I'm taking. It all goes back to mindset though. It still all goes back to mindset. So it's not just how do I stop myself from doing that thing, but it's also how do I stop this set of circumstances that I keep attracting. So I was looking up like what constitutes patterns of behavior, and of course they say two or three. So some places psychiatrists and psychologists say two or more responses that occur in a prescribed order. That becomes a pattern of behavior. Other places just say three or more. Once you hit three, that's the magic number. You got a pattern. Okay, y'all know I fell for the third freaking time recently. That has just constituted a pattern of falling. That when I go to the hospital, they put a fall risk bracelet on me. I am not a fall risk. There's something I need to do to change that, something in me. And these were all freak falls. These weren't just me tripping over a crack in the sidewalk. Somehow I've created a pattern that now has to be broken. And so sometimes it's like I said, action that we're taking, things that we are physically doing, verbally doing. Oh, I don't know why I fly off the handle. I don't know why and we have to break that. I remember, and again, I just put my sister on the spot because she's helped me through so much. Gina has been my lifeline, my wisdom. I was living in California the second time. So first time as an adult. And Gina, there was something, I don't even remember what it was. Something happened in the family. And I heard about it last. And I called Gina, and how come nobody told me? And hurt feelings, blah, 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 blah. And Gina said, because of this. Because we don't know what we're going to get when we talk to you. You are hot, cold, temperamental. We don't know what we're going to get. We don't know if you're going to fly off the handle. So that's what, literally, I will tell you guys, that moment, I took it off like a coat. Like, I will never do that again. That's not how I'm going to respond to things anymore. And so for me, that piece of change, that type of change, that moment of change of realizing, because that's one of the things this article talks about is when you start weighing the benefits versus the, basically the pros and cons of your behavior. And that first stage is you haven't even decided if it's worth it. Are there more benefits or, I don't know. And so in that moment, the cons of being moody were completely outweighed by the benefits of not being moody. And I took that moody hat off, that jacket off, and dropped it by the wayside. It's interesting. When I tell people now that I used to be moody, like they're like, that doesn't even sound like you. Yeah. Yeah. I make a point to be consistent. It doesn't mean I don't experience moods. At times I get sad, I get angry. I still experience moods. Sure, not like before, where every few minutes we could go from hot to cold in an instant. Gina helped me with that because I realized I will cut myself out of family correspondence or family updates because of my volatility, them not knowing who I was or how I was going to react. I didn't want that. And in that instant, the pros of not being moody outweighed everything else. I took it off and dropped it. Done. Done with that. Until we get there, we're not there. We argue, we bargain, we reason. Oh, I think it'll be different this time. Gina helped me again with another situation. It was a boss situation. I was so upset. Gina, you'll never believe what happened. She was like, you know what concerns me more than you crying right now? And what happened is that you don't realize you called me about the same thing. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. This is not the third time. And I was like, no, no, yes, it is. What? Mm-mm. And she was right. I got home that night. I grabbed my journal to write about what had happened. I mean, because I listen. Gina knows I will listen to her. We may go back and forth, but she knows I'm listening. And most of the time, I don't even bother to go back and forth because if she tells me you're in labor, Holly, you endangered child, if Gina says it, it's some truth. So I just need to accept it. So I tried not to even argue with her. But I got home and I was journaling about how I felt. But before I could put it in the journal fell open to 6 months prior when I had gone through the exact same thing and the words were identical. And I couldn't see the repeating pattern of me feeling like, how could they treat me like this? They were so disrespectful, so devaluing. Gina was like, that's how they are. No, no, Gina, you've called me with this exact same situation multiple times. What? And then I had to you got to examine. So first of all, you need to have people in your life like your sister, like my sister, and I hope you have a sister like mine. I hope you have a good friend. If you don't have a sibling that you can trust, that you have somebody that they can tell you, I see a pattern here, and they won't necessarily say I see a pattern. They'll say something like, you know, how is this different from the last time, or what have you done since the last time to change this? Like, listen for those key phrases about the last time or when this happened before. If you start to hear them ask you questions about how is this different than, then recognize you may have a pattern of behavior that you need to address. It's that simple. Now, there are 3 scriptures I'm going to read tonight. One is just one verse. And again, because my sister has pets, I'm familiar with this. I think it's gross, but it is what it is. In Proverbs 26:11, it says, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. Okay, let me just tell you. I had to ask Gina about the dog returning to vomit because I was like, a dog doesn't really return to vomit. Like, please tell me that's not really it. Gina's like, so a dog can eat something that makes it sick, throw up, and then go back and eat that same vomit, and then throw up again. Like, first of all, gross. But when we think about it and realize that us in that repeating pattern, that's what that's like. This made me sick. This made me cry. This made me whatever. This made me sick. This made me cry. Seriously. I could stop there. Proverbs 26:11. That's it. Do not return to your vomit. Whether it's, I give an example, and I've told the story, and if you look up other Bible studies that I've done, I've talked about the same backpack analogy, but let me give you this one. Let's imagine that there's a person who always pokes you in the side, and you hate when they poke you in the side. Sometimes it hurts, and even when it doesn't hurt, it's just irritating. And that's what they do. They poke. If you stand next to them, they will poke you over and over and over and over in the side. But you're upset at them. Why do they keep poking me? What can you do to keep from being poked? You can step away from them. It doesn't mean that their behavior's changed. It might. They might really want you nearby, and once they know you won't stay if they keep poking, they might change, but they might not. It's not just their behavior that's repeating, it's yours. That you're in harm's way, you're letting them poke you over and over again, and you're getting upset about the same thing that you've always gotten upset about over and over. Okay, come on now. That's what they do. They poke. Or they poke you. They might not poke everybody because somebody probably slapped the smack out of their hand when they tried to poke them. And they know I can't poke on that side. I can poke her though. You got to change behavior. You got to change the response. You got to change the proximity. There's something, you got to change the mindset. There's something in you that needs to change. If you find, and you know, a lot of families are like this. My parents, when they got paid, it was feast. When money ran out, it was famine. Paycheck, steak, lobster tails, crab legs. Famine, Popeyes, ramen noodles. They went through that same cycle of feast and famine. They taught it to us. It's all we knew. Got paid, we could do the thing. Stacks on stacks on stacks. Money, doing it, right? Except when you get to that famine part, oh my gosh, the bills are, wait a second. That should work once, maybe twice. And then there should be a, wait a second, hold on. If I don't do feast, then I don't have to do famine. Maybe there's a happy medium. But often, I don't know why. Listen, I don't know why my account keeps getting overdrawn. Don't you? Don't you? You don't know? It just happened. I don't know. Sometimes they just take all the money out. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. You think about people, like I said, who attract the wrong person over and over again. That all my boyfriends were jerks. Really? You're the common denominator. So everybody you've dated has been unfaithful? All the women you've dated, you call them the B word? Okay. So you were the common denominator. What are we doing here? What are we doing? And you can't see it. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't. Okay. Well, now it's time to start understanding. So whether it's what you consider them doing something to you, or you putting yourself in harm's way, there's something that has to change in you and your behavior, your mindset. You don't want to end up with, you know, overdraft notices and overdraft charges month after month. Something's got to change, because doing what you're doing over and over again is not going to work. I watch Criminal Minds. It's one of my favorite series. And there was, in this one episode, there was a homeless woman. They were looking for other homeless people who'd been disappearing off the streets. And the FBI agent said, well, do you think that maybe she just, went back home, or she, just left the street? And the homeless woman said, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to get away from this lifestyle. And then, of course, we can look at it and say, oh my God, but it is. Like, there are services, there are people who would help you. And most of the people had family members who put out missing persons reports, who wanted them back home and wanted to help. But they looked at it as, once you're here, once you're on the street, you're just stuck here. And that's not necessarily true. Should there be more services and things like that? We're not getting into the social justice piece of it. I'm just saying the mindset of, I can't help it though. I'm stuck here. There's nothing I can do but be here. That's hell. And it's bondage. And it's wrong. It's just wrong. The fact that there are people who've gotten off the street, the fact that there are people who can balance their bank account and not get overdraft charges, who know how to live within their means, it's possible. It's obviously possible. So then it's just, what are we going to do? How are we going to change our mindset, our behavior? And our mindset will help we can't change our behavior most of the time without changing our mindset. Because first we have to realize that there is a problem. And then we have to decide, what do we want to do to change the problem? So first is the realization. This is a problem. I don't like it. And these cons, there are too many cons here. The pros of changing my behavior are much better. We have to get to that mindset. The two scriptures I was going to read you, I'll just tell you what they are. One is Samson and Delilah. It's in Judges 16. When incorrect entertainment outlets show the Samson and Delilah story, they show it, she was, this vixen, and dated him and did the thing and laid it on him, put it on him. And she, in the midst of it, just said, baby, tell me, what is the source of your strength? And he just said, it's my hair. That's not how it happened. Were 3 separate times. He didn't tell her the truth at first. He told her, oh, if you tie me up with this, this will happen. If you do this with that, he gave 3 different things. And each time she was like, how are you going to play me like that? But it's not like it was just her playing him. The guards rushed in and tried to grab him. And of course he was stronger than them, and he defeated them. And he still slept with her and still told her, to the point where at that 3rd time, he finally told her the truth. He repeated that pattern of, why are are you even still with this woman? She keeps asking you the source of your strength and setting you up. And twice, guards came in, did exactly what you told her not to do, that this would remove your strength, did that, and still you have the same repeating behavior of telling her the truth. Okay, all right, all right. Oh, when you do that, I can't help but tell you. Seriously? Until they captured him, gouged his eyes out. This is horrible. He had the repeating behavior. Read it for yourself in Judges 16. I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up. And then I'll just read one little part. I wanted to do both a guy and a woman. So that was the guy doing repeating behavior. Look at the woman. It's the woman at the well, Samaritan woman in John 4, 7 through 18. I'm not going to read all the verses, but basically, Jesus came up to her, asked her for some water. Then he said, do you want some living water? Which was him. And, and then he said, go home and ask your husband, But listen to what she says. She says, in verse 17, I have no husband. Jesus said to her, you are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have just said is quite true. It's a shame he read her like he did. I mean, it is what it is. But, I hear about women who, I really just want a man to marry me. I want him to love me and marry me. And yet they start dating and she gives it all away. And he was like, oh, now that I got it all, you're not really marriage material. I'm actually looking for a woman with a little bit more character than you've just exhibited. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so awful. So you find a good guy, right? You find this good guy. And then he's like, I want to hold out because I want to be married and I want to, present myself, whatever. And then you vixen up to him and you rub and you do the things. And then finally he's like, okay, I got to have it. And then he does it. And he's like, yeah, I can't marry you because I want a woman who wouldn't do that. Dang. No, I know these women. This is not, I am familiar with this. And that same pattern of behavior of, if that's what you're doing, but you're saying you want a good guy, it's not working. Similarly, the guy who says he wants a good girl, but he's out there hoeing around. Okay, a good girl's not going to be attracted to that. Sorry. I mean, you keep doing what you're doing, because right now, in his mind, yeah, but see, the pros are outweighing I mean, I want this, but there aren't enough pros over there to have him change his behavior. There aren't enough until there are. And so, anyway, I'm going to put the link in the chat on YouTube and on Facebook to where you can read this article that I read. I didn't write it. I read it, and it talks about the different stages when you're trying to break repeating patterns, and it gives the behavior of each of the patterns. It's really powerful. And there's some repeating patterns that I want to change. There's some ways that I'm looking to progress, and yet I'm finding myself spinning in a loop, which is bondage, which is hell. And so I'm like, okay, stop. Even if I don't go up, I gotta stop this. Hold it. I need to move forward. So what do I need to do? First, I need to put the brakes on. Got to figure out how can I move to get out of this. Because when I'm calling friends or family with the same, like, oh, you'll never believe what happened. And I mean, it can be anything. Health challenges, men problems, money problems, it can be anything. And then I'm like, I can't keep doing this. This is not what I want my life to be. I made decisions early on about what I did and didn't want my life to be. I didn't want it to be one health challenge after another due to my spine issues. And in general, it has not been. Have there been flare-ups? Yes, there have. But that hasn't been my life. My life has been a series of amazing experiences and jobs and travel and all of that. And when I get caught in the loop of back in the hospital, dizzy spells, oops, I fell again, got another concussion, traumatic brain injury. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done with the health issues. So I need to stop that circling train and start moving up because this is not happening. My sister came literally, it felt like 2 weeks in a row, but it was 1 week for surgery. Like 2 weeks later, she was back for another week because then I'd have to fall. I love seeing my sister. Granted, I didn't fall so I could see her, But realizing, hold on a second, like this feels like deja vu in a negative way. You're here helping to bring me food to the, oh my gosh, I can't. That can't be my pattern. I can't have that pattern. I can't. I won't. I won't. I won't do it. So even hey, you guys know I will be transparent about it all. Even me, I am breaking some repeating patterns that just are not working for me, and that it was one of them. That's not the only one. That's just one of them. No more falls. We're not doing no more surgeries. This is crazy. That's crazy talk. That cannot be who I am. I won't accept it. Done. Donezo. Done with that. I want my sister to come for visits when we can go out and do things together and enjoy each other, play games together. Not her sitting at my feet talking about my toes are purple. That is not the vision. That's not the visit. That's not the vision. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. I'm not having it. Not having it. Anyway, figure out what your repeating patterns are and then start making a decision to break them. I'll send you the link in the chat. It'll be there. You'll be able to read this article. Figure out what stage you're in. I want to get to stage 6 on all of them, but a few of them I'm still on stage 2 or 3, and nobody. So anyway, let me bring my beautiful sister, who I talk about all the time. I'm so thankful for her. Hi, sister.
Hi,
Thank you
little
for
sister.
all the things that you've helped me see.
Oh, little sister, that is so mutual, right? One of the things that you didn't mention is and what you alluded to is repeating patterns and like repeated, and they're all repeated thinking patterns, but sometimes you think something is negative in your life because you just think negatively about it all the time. But then when you think about, but how would I feel if I didn't have it, or if this wasn't happening? Now the pattern, the thing that you need to get rid of is not the thing, but it's that penchant for thinking negatively or perceiving something negatively, or only being able to perceive the negative in what is on balance a positive situation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
I
And I
do.
sometimes that can be where I live, where I can only see the, you know, how come you don't pick up your socks? How come you never pick up your socks? You need to pick up your socks. And but really, but I'm so grateful that for the things you do, or for the fact that you're here. And honestly, if I lost you tomorrow and had to decide, was it worth it, that, to the time I lost worried about socks, was it, you know what I mean? I think there's sometimes that can be the repeating pattern as well, of
Yeah.
of focusing on the negative of something that's happening in an overall positive situation.
Yes.
um, and so that's a pattern. It's interesting how you talk about those patterns, that some patterns we just struggle with for our whole lives, it feels like. Other patterns we're like, oh, that's over. And mine was like that with playing games.
Oh yeah.
And I used to be a terrible, terrible loser. Like my whole self-worth was wrapped up in every single game. And so Connie and I have played games together all of our lives. And one time she was just done so with me being a brat when I lost. And so I think I was like 11 or 12 or 13. Like I was way too old. Like I should have learned the lesson. I said, well, that's it. I'm not playing any more games with you because you're a terrible loser. And I was like, no. And yeah, no, it takes the fun out of the game. I don't want to play anymore with you, because if, if you can't, next time, this is my last game with you being a bad loser. So if it happens again, we're done. We're done. We're done. And just like that, like it was that stark pro con situation. All of the pros went and like just came in sharp relief, and all the cons did. And I was okay. Well, I am no longer a poor loser. Like, and since then, and when I tell people I used to be a really bad loser, people are like,
Right.
really? Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Same.
So
When I
yeah.
tell people, oh, I used to be like moody, like crazy moody, they're like, no. Oh,
No.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting to me because I do have patterns that I continue to struggle with, but sometimes it is like taking off a cloak. It is exactly like that. You take it off, you drop it, you don't put it back on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I wish they all were like that. Some are a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, I don't know how many habits are intertwined to make those harder. Do you know what I mean? Like it
Right.
feels like it's a whole big old ball of steps and patterns and thought processes that make it tough to tease out so you can put it down. Because you don't even realize when you're starting on the path of following that same thing again, because it doesn't seem related. Um, but yeah, yeah, some of those are just yeesh. And you feel like an idiot, right? Like I was
Right.
like 4 minutes late to work yesterday. And I just turned to Paul and was like, being 4 minutes late to work is weak sauce. This is weak. What does that mean? Like, what? Unless, I mean, 20, 30 minutes, okay, maybe something happened. Something happened. But that's just trifling. Like, it's just weak. I'm like, how am I this age? And like, I can still be 4 minutes late to work. This is weak. Anyway, and it's one of those things. But as you're getting ready and you're doing the thing, there's so many little decisions and steps that you take that you don't realize is going to result in that 4 minutes, and you should by this time, but you still don't.
Right.
But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Leaving, I do a thing is, where I intentionally, like if I know I have to be somewhere at 8, then I'm like, okay, I have to be there at 7:45. So then let me say I'll leave at 7:15 because it's a 30-minute, and that, so then that way if there's like a 5-minute delay, then I'm still going to be right. That's, but I have to back it up even for me, and I'm not, typically late, but um, when I am late, I've learned to tell people, oh, I'm going to be 10 minutes late, and then get there 5 minutes late, and then it doesn't feel like most people do the opposite. Oh, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes, but they're really 10 minutes away. And then in people's
now you're
minds,
twice as late,
twice. Yep. Now you're late
double late,
twice.
right?
Yep. Yeah. So no, but yeah, there's some patterns I just have to change. So that's all I'm going to say. And I will
Ditto.
put the article in the chat on Facebook as well as on YouTube. So enjoy, read it seriously. Like I said, it more for me talked about the stages, like what looks like it. That first stage is all about denial. And I'm like, I don't want to be in that stage on anything that needs to change. But anyway, I think will be very helpful for all of you. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, sister. Seriously, again, thank you for um,
Sister.
pulling my coat to things I need to see. Have a good night, everybody.